are going to be bringing you something a little bit different, during which we're going to share 5 key trends that I believe are going to be big drivers for the hotel industry into 2026 and beyond. So my name's Eloise Hanson. I'm the editor of Boutique Hotel News, and Boutique Hotel News, if you're unfamiliar, is an online trade publication, multimedia platform covering boutique, lifestyle, luxury hotels and branded residences globally. We've had the pleasure of working with Duetto across our webinar series in the latter half of this year. Duetto is a cloud-based revenue management software solution, and we have a short video to play for you.
Let's face it, hospitality has changed. Booking patterns are erratic, events hijack demand, guests expect more, spend less, and book late. Labor short, costs are up, and the world is...
Heathrow Airport will be closed.
Well,
coronavirus.
The AI experts hear us.
Flooding.
Unpredictable. And revenue leaders are being asked to do more with less, across more teams, more systems, and more pressure, which leads to disconnected systems, manual workarounds, siloed insights. All because most hotels are still trying to solve new problems with old tools. It's not working. Modern hotels don't need another product. They need a smarter way to run revenue. One platform, smarter pricing, sharper forecasts, stronger performance. Real profit visibility, built to bring pricing, forecasting, group strategy, and profitability into one clear view and make it actionable from select service to luxury, whether you are one hotel or 1,000. It's how modern hotels run revenue, not just more bookings. This is everything your RMS should be. This is Duetto, the revenue and profit operating system. And we're just getting started.
Now, further details about Duetto have been popped into the chat if you would like to learn more. So just a brief overview of how today's webinar is going to run, because it will flow a little different to your normal panel discussion. Effectively, I've got 5 key trends that I want to talk about today, and I have lined up 5 industry experts across those 5 trends to host mini 10-minute Q&As with each of those experts, because let's face it, they could do a much better job of talking about these topics than I probably could. We will soon be meeting all of our speakers shortly. And just an overview in that today's webinar is being recorded, and every registrant will get a copy of that recording along with a written summary of the key takeaways that has been discussed. And if you have time at the end of this webinar, please complete a short survey. Any feedback would be always valuable, as we're always looking to improve what we do here. So here's a little teaser of who we've got lined up today. Luca, Michael, Richard, Eva-Maria, and Ha Young, all of which you are going to be meeting very shortly. And all the LinkedIn profiles of our speakers will be popped into the chat just so that you can connect and carry on that conversation long after today's webinar has finished. So, who do we have behind door number 1? We have Michael. And Michael is here today to talk to us about generative engine optimization and how this is reshaping visibility. So, Michael, why don't we begin with a short introduction, who you are and what you do?
Sure. Am I on camera?
You are indeed.
Okay, just check. You know, I've never been behind door number 1 before, so I'm super excited. This is great. And thank you so much for having me on your webinar and talk about this trend. Trend number 1, behind door number 1. All right, so who am I? So I'm Michael Goldrich. I have 25 years in hospitality. I worked at big brands, small brands. Typically, I was on digital marketing until the whole AI thing exploded. I dug deep, and I've been doing a lot of work with hoteliers to educate them in terms of AI literacy and AI fluency to make sure that their teams could be properly upskilled. But now, what we're talking about today, this GEO or visibility or whatever you want to call it, this is huge and this is very different. And so I've really been leaning into helping hotels to really be able to win in this new distribution arena.
So I'm going to start off simply. because there may be a lot of people tuning in today's webinar that maybe even haven't even heard of generative engine optimization. And if they have heard of it, maybe aren't entirely too sure what it is. So, Michael, in your own words, what is GEO?
All right, so GEO, Generative Engine Optimization. I mean, there are a lot of acronyms that are going around about this. There's AIO, AEO, SEO plus. What all it is simply visibility. How can you have your hotel website visible in AI answer engines? So, because here's the thing. And I look at it and I break it up into what some people call GEO. I break up into four different areas. You have your technical SEO. That's what you already should be doing. Those are your best practices in terms of your website. Then you have the AEO, which is the answer engine optimization. This is making sure that the content on your website is answering all the appropriate questions that people are asking. And then you have the GEO, which there are different ways that people use GEO. For me, I look at GEO in terms of what are other sites that you don't control, what are they saying about you that can kind of echo and complement what you say about your site. And then the last part is the whole measurement piece. Like, how do you even know if you even in these answers? So again, all of that together, I call it visibility. Some people call it GEO. Some people call it SEO. Like for me, all right, so here's me on my little soapbox. I think to call this SEO, because that's what SEO experts will say, I think it's like when the first cars came out and people called them the horseless carriage. What they do is they use an old term to explain a new technology. And this is just it's like SEO plus, but it's so much more than that. If that addresses that.
Yeah, so why is this so important for hotels to be aware of then? And how can hotels start to go about making changes or adaptations to their content in order to maximize GEO?
Yes. All right. So there are a couple of things that hotels can do. So you have to now think that your hotel website has multiple audiences.
Mm.
It's no longer just humans. It is now these AI crawlers that are coming along. So you need to be writing for these AI crawlers. And these AI crawlers, what do they like? They like structure. So you need to make sure foundationally that your website doesn't have schema. Everything has rich schema across the entire thing. So that's number one. You have to make sure you have to think of your website no longer just as a beautiful sort of brochure, but think of it as a database. And for it to be a database, you need it to have schema. So this way it can be crawled effectively. It's like sort of like schema is like an AI cheat sheet for your hotel. Without it truly helps the machine understand this is an offer. This is a room. This is an amenity. This is a policy. This is whatever. This is dining information. So it makes it clear. So that's number one. And number two is you make sure that you're answering questions. So what Google did, Google taught all of us to think in keywords. So we can go down and just say, brevity was the win there, right? You put in like 3 or 4 keywords and you get your 20 links, and then you kind of click, 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 click. But the paradigm has totally changed. We're no longer in the world of search. We're now in the realm of answer. So you're not searching for the answer, you're getting the answer. And if you use the 5 words that you've used, because it looks very similar, the context window looks very similar, and for Google versus for this chatbots. So you can use those 5 words that you used in terms of Google to try to find your hotel or whatever you're looking for, but you're going to get very sort of generic responses, which is why when people initially started using the chatbots, they were underwhelmed because of really generic. But the thing is that you need to think of Google as very reactive in terms of how people are searching. But when people are doing the answer engine, they actually have to be more proactive. You have to be more thoughtful. You have to spend more time and truly articulate and write down what you want. And if you do that, it's going to deliver that. So now what does a hotel need to do? A hotel needs to be able to answer those questions. They can't just say, I have a pool. They should say, I have a 25-meter heated outdoor pool with poolside service that's open 7 to 10. Towels are provided. You want to provide as much information as possible. So you have to be more detailed and descriptive to answer the question that people might possibly have.
Hmm. One of your final parts in terms of how SEO plus or visibility now is being sort of redefined. I think your final pillar was measurability, or how do we actually check and monitor and track how our efforts and achievements are actually performing. So with that in mind, Michael, how can hotels go about this? What can they do?
Right. So that's a great question because if you think about it, if now people are getting answers in the little chatbot window and they're like, great, they type in their request and they get the answer. They have the information that they need and they move on their merry way. Maybe your brand, maybe your hotel was mentioned, maybe it wasn't. But one thing you know for sure is it didn't get to your website. So if you're using your Google Analytics as your primary source of determination of success of your digital efforts, you will see zero. I was working with a hotel group recently, a hotel management group. They saw all their numbers were increasing except for organic search. Organic search was going down. And if you think about it, it makes sense because say you're in Google and the AI overviews opens up and it pushes everything else down. So not only is it not visible, but you're also interacting with the answer engine there. So how do you know? How do you know? So there are a number of tools out there that can help kind of figure out if you're showing up. I mean, if someone actually has found you and has a link from one of these answer engines, you could probably see it through Google Console, but you're not going to really see a lot of that. So what you need to do is you need to essentially run a series of prompts. You have to imagine the prompts that people are using to find your hotel.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't use your brand name because if you know your brand name, they're going to go to your website. So you really want this to be non-branded questions, and you have to have about 25 of them. And then you list them from like more generic to like maybe more specific. And you want to put these into each of these chatbots. So you put it into ChatGPT, you put it into Gemini, you put it into Claude, you put it in Perplexity. And you want to see, based on those 25, do you show up? That's number one. If you're not showing up, are your competitors showing up? Well, that's a problem. If your competitors are showing up and you're not showing up, what are the citations? So you want to look at where are they actually getting that information from so they can track it back. Then you also want to validate, okay, not only you showing up, but what is the accuracy? Where are you showing up in the placement? So it is you can do it manually like that, but remember you have to turn off the memory because if I put a prompt in and Eloise, you put in a prompt in, my memory is different as an American versus Eloise from the UK. So everything is going to be a little bit different. So you want to make it as clean as possible from that perspective. But there are plenty of tools out there. You guys can reach out to me, and I can give you some list of tools that you can potentially use that can automate that process. But you can do this manually, and you should do it and keep an Excel as to in terms of citations, platform spread, accuracy, and visibility, and ultimately share of answer.
Brilliant. Thank you, Michael.
Sure.
That's all we have time for on GEO today. But as Michael said, do reach out. His LinkedIn profile's into the chat. Connect, ask your questions, pester him about all these tools that you can learn. I'm sure Michael will be willing to help. So thank you, Michael, for your time.
It
Um,
was a pleasure.
you're very welcome. And good luck with everything.
All right. Thank you. All right. Take care. Bye bye.
Thanks, Michael. So, who is behind door number two? Our second trend today is looking at the evolution of wellness, particularly the growth of longevity and medical tourism. Eva-Maria, welcome to the webinar. Can you please introduce yourself?
Thank you, Eloise. Hello, everyone. My name is Eva-Maria, and I'm from the Lanserhof group. We run medical resorts across Europe, and we are focused on longevity and gut health.
Gut health is a big topic right now. My Instagram feed is full of fantastic recipes. But let's dig into this more, Eva-Maria, because Lanserhof Group has been around, as I believe, for about 40 years. So way ahead of health and regeneration and preventative medicine before it became a trending phenomenon. So, Eva-Maria, from your perspective, how are you seeing the longevity focused traveler actually reshape wellness and what you offer from an amenity, a treatment perspective at the resorts across Europe?
Yeah, absolutely. So longevity has not been around, that word, for too long. I would say maybe 3 years that everyone is talking about it. And we operate since 1984. So we we look after longevity and gut health for quite a long time. But what has changed is that people become more aware of their health, and the word health span became sort of a thing. Previously, people were, when they were talking about wellness, it was very much spa driven, having a massage, having pampering treatments. And now, for a little while, this trend is moving into more precision health, prevention driven, more into our area, which we do for a very long time. But that's quite interesting to see that there is quite a big shift on the market. And nowadays, when people talk about wellness, it's absolutely no more contradiction that they talk about advanced diagnostics and very personalized programs, whereas that wasn't really a thing a few years back in time.
And how do you, with it being science backed, how are you balancing the wellness angle with the clinical under the roof of a hospitality resort hotel brand? How are you balancing the two here?
It's a good question. When you're, I don't know the audience, but I think a lot of the people listening might be either or. It's rare that you combine the two.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe it's very important when you go in the field of health, you have a certain responsibility. So when you deal with health, you have to have medical credibility. You deal with the most important asset of a person, which is their health. And therefore, we would hope everyone takes this very serious. So there's a lot of offering out there, which is there's not a lot of research. I'm talking about infrared, cryo, which is all very established and falls under the wellness hat. But it's used sometimes very lightly in context where it shouldn't potentially be. So I would always advise that if you deal with health, you have to have medical credibility standards in place, and it can't be safe enough, better safe than sorry. And for consumer, you don't want to, if you deal in this, we are in the very high-end luxury world, you never want to give away this clinical hospitality-like feel because it has a negative association. So you try to also have emotional ease. People want to feel secure and they really want to trust your professionalism when dealing with certain matters. So I would always say, when you go in the medical field, health topic, less is more, and always strive for medical excellence, being very diligent. And otherwise, it's better to have less treatments than do them half-baked. It will never work out in the long term.
Mm-hmm. And how do you see hotel portfolios then evolving to start capturing and catering to what I call more intentional stays, right? These are people who are traveling for a very particular reason. So how do you see hotel portfolios growing in this respect?
Well, this is really becoming more purpose-driven. So I believe hotels have a big opportunity there. It just has to make sense for the kind of hotel you are operating. So we don't believe in that everybody has to offer everything. So I believe it can enhance the stay of a client very much so. But no matter what the offering in the end should be, strive for verified medical partners, medical providers, getting expertise on site. And a guest journey is always key. What makes a guest journey, excellent? And it should feel seamless. It shouldn't be satellite offerings floating around. I believe very much in medical components have to always be evidence-based, tightly regulated, and you strive for a proper follow-up to have ethical and credible care if you go down the route of health.
No, absolutely. Eva-Maria, I think that's all that we have time for today. But once again, Eva-Maria's LinkedIn profile has been popped into the chat. I hope this has sparked further questions, further queries to speak to Eva-Maria about longevity and medical tourism and pick her brain perhaps for some key learnings. But Eva-Maria, thank you so much for your time. And I believe you've got an opening coming up soon in Marbella. So best of luck with all the expansion and look forward to supporting.
Thank you, Eloise. Bye.
Trend number 3, and one that I have been reporting on for quite some time, particularly around the growth of lifestyle hotel brands, particularly how some lifestyle hotel brands have been acquired by the larger chains, and the opportunities that this has presented for new players. Luca is now joining us on the webinar. Luca, welcome to the webinar. Can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, Eloise, and thank you for the kind invitation. My name is Luca. I'm the founder of Habyt, which is a group focused on flexible living and hospitality. We started in Germany. We're now Europe-wide. And most recently, I also am the founder of Atypical Hotels, which is our new lifestyle hotel brand that we opened our first property in Madrid in October. So very happy to be with you and tell you a bit more about this new idea that we had.
Yeah, I have to say, I knew we were going to see some new entrants, but I didn't expect to see it come from what I understand is Europe's largest co-living or flex living operator. So to me, that prompts the question of why? Why now? What was it that motivated the launch of Atypico Hotels?
Yeah, well, I think it's always we need to think about hotel brands as catering to two different, very large clusters of customers, right? One is, of course, the final consumer, the person that checks in and out of the hotel. But second is also the property owners and the property developers, right? More and more, the big brands are acquiring different little brands to increase their portfolio of offerings that they can basically deliver to their existing clients, as in the developers with whom they have already other properties and brands with. And so we found, this moment as sort of the perfect moment where we thought both sides needed something new. From the consumer perspective, we've seen a lot, especially in cities like Madrid, where I'm actually at the moment, and where we launched our first property, where there is a lot of competition on the 3 to 4 star, maybe 4 to 5 star range. So always leaning more towards the luxury, and the pricing of the stock has been increased dramatically. Right. And so in the, let's say, 3 star mid to low range category, you're pretty much left with fairly anonymous hotels that are very copy paste. Obviously, I don't want to make names, but you can imagine sort of what I'm talking about. And we really felt that the consumer would have pretty much no choice in the, let's say, 100 to 150 euro a night range for obviously a double room with their ensuite, etc. So we thought that that was something that was missing, right? A hotel with character, but that was design driven, but that was not so expensive. That was not in the 300 to 500 or even 1,000 euro category. So bringing something into the lower range of the market. On the other side, we were pushed by our partners because, as you mentioned, we have a co-living product that we have started with. We have a flex apartment, so more of a serviced apartment product that we have launched a couple of years ago, and it's really growing quite drastically. And then, the owners, they come to us and say, "Hey, we have this hotel property in the city center, right? Can you guys do something with it?" And we felt we were leaving sort of business on the table, and we thought, okay, let's expand our portfolio of brands and introduce something that can fit into the city center, that can fit the model of bedrooms rather than apartment. Yeah, we're very happy with the way it turned out. We launched maybe to a fault with 100% occupancy on the first day. That was a bit intense for our team, but we're super happy with the first couple of months of results that we got.
And so, what lessons are you going to be bringing from scaling Habyt from co-living to a more flex living product, and now to bringing hotels into the portfolio? What lessons are you going to be bringing, particularly from the co-living side, to growing this new brand?
Well, I think as I mentioned, we stay within a certain category, right? We're not trying to go to the 5 star route. We're always aiming to sort of target the same customer, which is a young professional, almost a student sometimes, so still in the very young sort of category. That's why also we bring this kind of low entry price. Because again, we try to first with the co-living, then with the flex living, now with Atypico and the lifestyle hotels, we always try to sort of stay true to our mission of creating accessible housing and hotel solutions, right? So that accessibility angle is definitely one of the keys that I bring into the new with the new journey with Atypico. And then, we obviously have built spaces around community and communal spaces, right? So for example, the rooms at a typical hotel in Madrid, they are fairly small, which again drive down the price, but we do have quite significant common areas in the building. So a nice rooftop area, a nice co-working area on the first floor with a patio and then some F&B space, etc. So the idea of reduced private space, increased common space, this is something that, of course, we carry over from our residential and co-living background. So they're just two of the lessons that I think we can carry forward.
Yeah, I really look forward to seeing this brand grow, and hopefully I'll get the invite to the next launch, Luca.
Yes, next year.
Let's talk quickly about these blurring of asset classes, because some people here at IHM, we have 4 media brands: boutique hotel news, which is why we're here, service department news, short-term rentals, and urban living news. So we cover hospitality and operational real estate, and we are seeing how the asset classes are constantly converging, blurring, creating these new opportunities. But how might this change the competitive landscape? As I sort of joked around, I didn't expect to see a new lifestyle hotel brand from a originally co-living operator. So, Luca, how do you see this sort of
Yeah,
changing that
I
competitive
think that
stance.
I think that the reality, the reason why we first, as a company, evolved from just co-living onto flex living, so from, let's say, a pure residential model
Mm,
onto a serviced apartment model, and then now on a lifestyle hotel model, is because there is a tremendous pressure on the housing market from regulators from all sorts of perspectives, right? And so this is obviously driving more and more entrants into the let's call it the commercial or sort of a hotel zoning market, because doing things that once were maybe possible to do on a residential space, they are less and less likely to happen due to increased regulation. If you
mm,
look at the Netherlands, if you look at Germany, for example, the pressure is mounting, and so players are escaping from those markets and entering into the commercial or sort of hospitality area. And then when you go within the hospitality, these lines are blurring more and more, right? I mean, you see Accord has their own co-working brand. I mean, we have serviced apartment and now lifestyle hotels. Everything is blending together, and I feel like, I think, there were some sessions in the past of, sort of, yeah, blurring lines and flexible spaces and like, reutilizing space in different ways. And I think that this is definitely sort of the future. One of the strengths, I think, for example, of our serviced apartment brand Habyt is that we flex both for short stays and long stays, and let's say our business model works either way, right? And this is, I think, a very strong proposition, because obviously if you paint yourself in a corner and just go super short term stays, that might open you up for certain competition, and the other way as well. So the maximum, allowing for the maximum flexibility to really flex where you can sell, where you can increase revenue. I feel like this is really the future, and we're seeing it for these few reasons.
yeah, absolutely. It looks like we are out of time for this trend. So once again, Luca's LinkedIn profile is in the chat. If you are looking to grow your portfolio, I suggest getting in touch with Luca, because he is on a journey, and I wish him the best of luck and look forward to
Absolutely.
seeing where Atypico Hotels lands next, Luca. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Eloise. Thank you so much.
See
Cheers.
you soon. Our next trend, and we will be welcoming Richard to the webinar now, and we're going to be exploring how shoulder seasons are starting to extend, and what this means for hotels now as they look to adapt and capture this demand. So Richard, welcome to the webinar. A short introduction, please.
Hi, I'm Richard Hyde. I'm COO and Managing Director for Small Luxury Hotels of the World. We have 650 hotels in 90 countries. Our average size is 49 rooms. We are small, but we do have a partnership with the exclusive boutique partner for Hilton. So all our hotels are on Hilton.com as well. So anyway, thank you very much for the invite, Eloise.
No, pleasure to have you with us today, Richard. So I want to sort of dive into booking data, and what that is telling us right now about shoulder season or off-peak travel. So things like what destinations are top performing, and what are these traveler profiles that's pushing this demand?
Yeah, it's a pretty generic question. I mean, first off, I mean, most hotels, especially this session's been sponsored by Duetto, work off bar pricing. So, it's not really, high shoulder and low seasons anymore. It's kind of looking at specific nights and doing your demand calendar based on that. So, there are certain days of the year that are very high season, but to answer on a more generic level, we see there's a kind of a split to either high season or low season. I think shoulder season is actually almost disappearing. So you'll see some locations like the Amalfi Coast, northern Italy, Andalusia. Their seasons are stretching longer and longer, and I would say they're kind of extending rather than starting early, they're finishing late. So, you know, a lot of hotels now are, if they do close, traditionally, they kind of close in November rather than October, which is due to a number of reasons. I mean, Andalusia is probably now a all year round vacation destination, mainly due to the weather and the great airlift into the region. Places like the Sud Tirol in northern Italy, which is booming right now. You know, their season now is ending in November. Maybe even it will extend year round as kind of the summer and fall season merge into the winter season. So we are seeing that seasons are getting longer, which is interesting. Yeah, sorry, rambling answer, but hopefully, you know, we see that seasons are getting longer, either due to the changing weather or certainly in terms of spreading out demand, like the Amalfi Coast, Venice. You know, they're extending the season as much as they can. I was in Venice last Christmas, and it's a charming place to be. You know, their low season traditionally has been November to March, but you know that the city is doing things to you know, to spread the tourism traffic into the winter season, which I think is good to see.
The demand is clearly so strong that I wonder if hotels will, they'll likely have to rethink staffing strategies, perhaps the sort of the packages or maybe the amenities that are being offered in order to better capture and support this demand. Is this something that you're seeing, Richard? Do you have any, are there any member hotels that have particular success cases, or perhaps any advice that you could give to hoteliers that can pivot slightly to lean into this?
Yeah, I mean I mean staffing is the number one issue in hotels. It has been for a number of years, especially after COVID. So it actually makes it even more difficult to find good staff. So you need to work with your existing staff, keep them loyal. You know, ask them to work into the for a longer season. There's sometimes a ski resort. The staff will also have a summer hotel to shift staff between properties. But so keeping staff and making sure they're motivated and well paid is kind of key. But also there are kind of big government issues here that you know, especially if you're on an island or that needs transportation, if the ferries stop in the winter or the airlift drops off dramatically, then there's not much you can do unless you have support from the local government. So, you know, if the airport is owned by the local government or a majority share, then they should help the hotels as much as they can as well by opening up, just by spreading the demand by helping with you know, the lift into the particular location. And then tied to that, which is also tied to the demand, is school holidays. So, you know, traditionally, especially in the UK, it's divided up into 3 terms, which puts tremendous stress on families to choose the time where they can travel. And when they do choose to travel, that's the high season. So, you know, we can talk about spreading demand into the shoulder season, but when school holidays don't allow for that, it becomes very difficult. So, you know, maybe we need a conversation which is beyond this webinar in terms of maybe having 4 school terms and shorter holidays. So or more, but shorter holidays, which will help the hotel industry and also the planet, I think, because you'll have less intensity in particular months. But anyway, that's for maybe a separate webinar.
Great idea, Richard. I'll be taking notes. Let's naturally as well. This will it's not just, I suppose, the staffing and the offers that hotels might pivot and adapt around, but it's also their sales and marketing strategies. Because if the high season is extended, that's longer time now to go out to market, share what you're doing, and capture that demand to make it worthwhile, I suppose, stay open for longer. So how can hotels rethink this in order to maximize the value of these extended seasons?
Well, first off, it is pricing. So maybe in the high season they have non-cancelable. The cancellation policies are a lot tougher. You need to reduce your prices dramatically during the shoulder season, but you can manipulate the terms and conditions to make it easier to chop and change dates. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people do book very last minute, which is almost like 48 hours. They'll check the weather. And then they'll check the flights, and then they'll book the hotel. So flexibility, I think, is key, especially in the shoulder season and low season. So that'd be the first thing to look at is flexible pricing as well as the pricing itself. And as a hotel, you're not just competing with a hotel down the road. You're competing with a hotel in a similar location in a different country. So, do I go to Prague or do I go to Edinburgh? These are sort of decisions that people make, and they make it last minute. So you need to be on top of it all. And then the other thing, which I think is very much a trend, which we see, which is also backed up from research we did, is people are just tired. They're knackered. They're always on with notifications, and it just gets too much. And many people want to take lots of mini breaks, short breaks. So experiences was kind of the thing over the last 20 years, but yes, that's important, but also relaxation is key. So, think about not necessarily wellness, if you don't have the facilities, think about well-being, just maybe organize yoga weekends or Tai Chi or anything to help people relax. And you don't have to be, you can still do that as a city centre or country house, but really think about how you can make it easy for people to relax. So that should also be part of your marketing and maybe some local partnerships. Not to the extreme of having, give your mobile phone to the front desk to be put in the safe, and then when you leave on Sunday night, you take it back. But that has some application. But that's kind of just the sort of thing that demonstrates, people do want to be able to switch off, and it is becoming increasingly difficult to do so. So that would be another thing I think hotels should look at, especially in the shoulder seasons, is flexibility and just making it easy for people to switch off.
Thank you, Richard. Once again, I think that is all we have time for today, but okay. Richard's profile is in the chat. Do connect, carry on this conversation, ask all your important questions, and Richard will connect soon, I'm sure. Best of luck, Richard, and see you soon. Thank you. Our final trend for today, and there has been some overlap in topics. We talked a little bit now about the changing weather and how weather is shaping where travellers now holiday to. We're now going to be talking about climate resilience, risk and coverage. So what is happening within the insurance markets as a result of this? We have Ha Young on the call and joining the webinar. Ha Young, welcome, and please introduce yourself.
Hi, Eloise. Thank you. Everyone, nice to meet you. It's really lovely to be here. I am Ha-Young Jung from Howden Climate Risk and Resilience Team. I'm a senior consultant advising climate risk. Howden is the largest independent employee-owned insurance broker in Europe, and we have offices in more than 50 plus countries to advise clients with innovative solutions for emerging and also known risks. And my role in Howden is to support clients to understand how climate and nature-related risks impact the business and can impact the business in the future. And we help make informed decisions to seize future opportunities with measures, actions, and also de-risking solutions.
Pleasure to have you, Ha Young. As a nice bridge between what Richard was talking about and with yourself, let's talk about which hospitality markets are seeing the highest volatility when it comes to climate change, natural disasters, but also insurance and how that market is performing. What are you seeing, Ha Young?
I think globally, the volatility is increasing and it has been captured by reinsurers and also data providers all over the world that climate-related natural disasters is intensifying and becoming more frequent. And I think people in this webinar might be already feeling that through, their own experience. I think it's already very, very familiar. There are some regional differences in terms of insurance. So, for example, in the UK, which is a good to hear, but in the short term, this year the UK market has not been negatively impacted in terms of insurance price due to natural disasters. Actually, we've been seeing a soft market, which means around like a 10% decrease in rates. However, this is a short term, I believe, a phenomena in Europe, for example, in high risk regions where we're seeing a lot of heat waves and flood risks and events, we are seeing higher insurance premiums. And in the long term, a lot of risk providers and think tanks are announcing that insurance price might be on the rise, and also there might be more exclusions or more tougher conditions to be able to afford insurance. And we wrap that concept as current and also future insurability, meaning whether a risk can be insured at an affordable rate or not.
Mm-hmm. So let's tie this in with how changing seasons then are affecting these sort of risk profiles, your exposure profiles. Again, can you sort of elaborate in terms of what you're seeing or how you're seeing this play out?
Yeah. So as natural disasters are becoming more frequent and more severe, partly due to climate change, we do observe a bit more a rising gap between what is protected and covered by insurance or not. So, for example, the European Central Bank has estimated that only about a quarter of climate-related catastrophe losses are currently insured in the EU, which is equivalent to around $58 billion. And the UK government estimates that around total number of properties in areas that are close to rivers, sea, or even surface water could increase to 8 million by 2050. So that means, in other words, that only 1 out of 4 properties in England might be at risk from flooding from rivers and the sea, and by mid-century. So we see that there is a risk profile where exposures are higher, but there will be still a significant, considerable amount of properties that might not be covered adequately.
So what can hoteliers do, be it around operational standards, be it around guest safety, be it even just sort of being aware of regulations and maybe what's incoming? What is it that insurers now expect or that they are looking for amongst hotels to meet certain standards and compliance?
What our team is observing is that there is an uptick of regulations, so stricter regulations around operational health and safety standards for workers, but also, for example, to give an example, the European Commission promotes a general heat safety applicable to accommodations, and there are also industry best standards. So staff should be aware of contingency measures and also engage with local councils to understand emergency protocols. Also, in terms of workers' health and safety, in the UK, also in Europe, there's quite often upcoming updates specific to climate-related heat stress and heat wave and flood-related measures. So, for example, in the UK, the Health and Safety Executive will release a new workplace heat stress guidance that will include outdoor workers to, for example, reschedule work or, give more frequent breaks, water breaks, provide shade and water. And in Spain, we also see regulations after the devastating a flood event last year. The government provided a 4-week of paid climate leave, which helps workers to protect their lives, and also prevent them from having dangerous situations in terms of extreme weather events like floods, storms, and heat waves. So now we're seeing, indirect regulations coming in that the hotel, businesses might want to be aware of. And I would recommend to understand whether there are any regulation that's upcoming or that's already in place that, different jurisdictions might have implemented, but also going forward, what that would mean, to insurance coverages and also other risks that might be related to that.
Mm-hmm. And Hi Young, finally, you mentioned particularly that the UK is quite a soft market in the short term, which I'm sure is quite good news for any UK hoteliers that are listening to this webinar. But maybe talking more broadly here, what climate adaptation measures can hoteliers take that might help to reduce any effect on premiums? Because one would imagine that if climate risks goes up, premiums will also. So what steps can hoteliers take to reduce that?
Sure. I'm happy to also explain a bit more, like including the maybe more comprehensive approach, for example. So our approach is to follow risk management process. That means we recommend businesses to identify risks. So in which assets, there might be different risks profiles that might be more pronounced. And we would advise, and we also support in analyzing and modeling these risks with our expertise, but also that means understanding priorities to understand, what actions might make sense to these businesses, what would be the bespoke risk profile, and the corresponding mitigation actions. And also after that, to monitor risks, like regularly, and also to consider a transfer of unmitigated risks with insurance solutions. So for example, in the UK, a flood resilience measure for that asset, for that property, might mean property elevation or installing flood barriers, to protect boilers, servers, and pumps, and also having backup covers. It might be improving drainage. It might be using water resistance materials for extensions, especially for lower floors, and also educating staff on, emergency protocols, and also considering, in a broader perspective, maybe nature-based solutions, not only gray infrastructures, but, for example, restoring dune around the coastal area can act as a natural buffer for coastal erosion and storm surge. Creating wetland would also add to, slowing down the runoff. That also creates beautiful landscapes, but also improves air and water quality. So it's a very win-win to leave a legacy and to, promote tourism. But, so there's many different layers, but I would say, considering the time limit, I would say identify the risks, analyze the risks, and also find the risk mitigation that makes sense for you. And there will be also experts to also help make the business case for such investments with de-risking solutions such as insurance, and to support this insurance buying strategy to manage premium volatility over time. So I hope that was useful.
Hi, Young. Brilliant. No, thank you. And if anyone does have any very specific questions for Hi Young, be it, I'm looking for a more tailored or maybe specific answer, then do connect with her on LinkedIn. Her LinkedIn profile is in the chat. I'm sure she's happy to help you and support in any way that she can. So Hi Young, many thanks for your time.
No problem.
We'll catch up soon.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you. So that brings us to the end of our 5 trends today. So we have stormed through, pardon the pun there, generative engine optimization, wellness 2.0, longevity and medical tourism, new lifestyle brand entrance, shoulder seasons extending, climate resilience, risk and coverage. We will now be taking a small break over Christmas, but we'll be back in January for a brand new webinar series holding or kickstarting on the 26th. this time it's shining a spotlight on our CEOs and understanding their lay of the land, where they're seeing the challenges and the opportunities moving forward. So the link to register has been popped into the chat. We would absolutely love to see you and welcome you there. And if you're interested in working with us across our digital webinars such as these, or perhaps our in-person events, do get in touch with my colleague Katie. Her details are on your screen and they've also been popped into the chat. And a big thank you to Duetto for being our series sponsor this year. Once again, thank you to all our industry experts for taking their time and sharing some thoughts, comments, insights and advice across our 5 trends. Very much looking forward to seeing you on the 26th of January, but all that's left for me to do today is to say Merry Christmas all and have a Happy New Year, and I'll see you very soon.
At IHM, we believe in the power of connection. We exist to inspire, to inform, and to unite decision makers who are shaping the future of hospitality and real estate. Our why is simple. We believe this industry thrives when people and ideas come together. And we're here to make that happen. So how do we do it? We publish 4 leading multimedia brands, each a trusted voice in its sector. We blend intelligent content, curated events, and a strong community into everything we do, making it easy, accessible, and genuinely useful. From online engagement to face-to-face connection, we're known for being insightful, collaborative, and refreshingly human. We host world-class events, panel discussions, podcasts, award ceremonies, and webinars designed to spark ideas, drive conversation, and create impact. With over 62,000 monthly web visitors, 55,000 email subscribers, and 69,000 social media connections. Our reach is deep and our community is active. We're partnered with the biggest names in hospitality, and we'd love to connect with you. So whether you're looking to grow your visibility, meet the right people, or understand where the market's heading, read, watch, listen, and meet. Do it all with IHM.